are going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And welcome back, everybody. I am Code Indigo, and I am joined here by my illustrious folks here. We have Author Blues on the couch supporting Mecha, who will be running virtual Hydlide. And this, if you guys have never seen this game, you are in for a treat. And especially that we are being subjected to, I mean, we have the honor of seeing this game run, or walk maybe, for the support of Speedrun Ragnarok 2022. I almost got through that. And we are in support of Take This, which is a group that reaches out to gaming companies to help them promote healthier and more productive work environments and ensure that they have methods in place for helping employees who suffer from mental illness. And as you can see there, if you hit the exclamation point Take This in the chat, you'll find out more about them. If you hit exclamation point Donate, you can find out how to donate towards these wonderful things. So, we are going to be playing this. Mecha, Author Blues, welcome. It's all yours.
All right. I'm Mecha. I'll be the one playing the game. Pronouns are he and any. Author Blues, you're up.
Yeah, I'm Author Blues. Pronouns he, him. And I have the good fortune to be watching.
Yeah. You all put together $550. You put down $5,000 in total. $550 to make this as much virtual Hydlide as possible. So we will be doing all dungeons, not just any percent, and random seed. As opposed to, let me check to see if so far Nope, he never answered. Okay, so I was gonna see if I could do a valid run by asking chat what the seed should be, but I can't. So, so we'll have to use the games in-game generator randomly. All right, so time doesn't start for like 30 seconds from now. But yep, this is the game of a year, iconic Saturn game. And so that's right. It's a randomizer, like an actual randomizer with actual seeds, actual changing maps.
Yeah, it works as a randomizer. You can play this over and over and get totally different experiences at 3 frames per second.
Yeah. I mean, I had to record one of my videos at 10. All right. All right, this time. Let's go. Wrong button. Need to see the map. Okay, graveyard's close. There's something behind me. Okay, not my most favorite map. All right, so all of the yellow dots on the map are places to go. The blue guideline on the compass is telling me where I should go next if I want to follow the game's directions.
So what order are we actually going to be doing things in, then, if we're not doing them in the game's intended order?
So, the first 5 things that you can do can be done in any order. I'll be doing them in whatever order makes sense on the map as I see them, right? Because
Gotcha.
like we're doing this completely on the fly, right? So...
Yeah, so the first place that we visit here is the graveyard. If you're playing this game, as intended, you would be visiting here first anyway, because you need the crucifix here to take on Dracula's castle or the vampire's mansion or whatever. The crucifix here is the only tool I know of that you can possibly use to even damage him, so this is a must-stop place. It also happens to be not a bad first stop because you might be lucky enough to run into some decent tools. Your character starts with a weapon, but maybe you find better things in the graveyard.
Yeah, I didn't see anything from like a pan over, like nothing yellow on the ground, so I just moved on. But you're absolutely right. Like we've found some great stuff in graveyards sometimes. All right, so the line back to the left. Ugh. Okay, that's where the vampire's castle is. All right, teleporters, are they helpful here? Kind of. All right, I want to go see what's to the south.
Yeah, so there's a number of stops we have to make in order to get. I mean, they're not actually all strictly necessary if you were playing this any percent. you would be capable of skipping pretty far ahead in the sequence and just picking up one of the items that jumps you pretty far ahead. But in this case, you all donated for all dungeons, and so we will see all of the locations, but they're not, strictly speaking, it's not necessary to do them in order. And so in this case right here, what really matters is what locations are closest. The real trick of this map is that all the maps have these giant rivers going through them, and you can only cross them at bridges. So really finding those bridges and knowing where they are is crucial.
All right, we're going to skip Vampire for a moment and do Trial Dungeon.
Okay.
Trial Dungeon's not hard, as long as you don't get...
completely in the dark, but...
Yep. That's right. You're supposed to have a lantern going in here if you do it in normal order. We don't. I'm fine with that. It's dark. Oh, wow! What a map! That's so good!
Unbelievable.
That is an unbelievably good
Final
map.
Fantasy 13.
This is a significant hallway. So, these guys are too dangerous. Like, I can't stay around and open those chests. With this armor on,
nasty.
Yeah, with weak armor on, kobolds will shred you. I need to, I do want to open those chests, but I want some more defense first. Okay, here's one.
Yeah, one kobold's not too bad. 3 kobolds will just murder you.
Heaviest club. Oh yeah.
Unfortunate.
No, not unfortunate. That's the that is the hammer. That's the warhammer.
Oh right. Okay, I was thinking it was actually just a club. I forgot that it classifies pretty much everything under club. Axe,
club, and warhammer are all clubs, and you can tell which one they are by the heaviness. So because it's heaviest, it is the warhammer, which is absolutely a sufficient weapon. It's not the best weapon. It's not the weapon I'd choose, but it is sufficient to get us where we need to go. So that's good.
If you're not familiar with this game, which why would you not be? But just to fill in for the cheap seats, the thing about this game that's kind of interesting is that a lot of these dungeons are somewhat tuned to the amount of health it expects you to have, but you gain health from completing objectives. So beating the vampire's mansion gives you a quote-unquote level up. There's no real level up system in this game, but every time you complete an objective, you get a small fixed increase to your base attack, defense, and health. And so depending on the order that these things happen, you could find yourself in a nasty situation where you're getting overwhelmed by enemies that you should otherwise be able to take if you played the game correctly.
Scroll over. Yep, that's right. I mean, I played the game enough, right, like in other categories that I'm not particularly worried about.
No.
Ring of Spirit, the safety ring.
That's big.
That is big. Yeah, I also need to
So
drop
Ring of
something,
Spirit is, if I'm not mistaken, that's the one that gives you health as you run, right?
Yep, that's the safety ring.
Yeah, so as he's running around, as long as he doesn't need to equip any other backup item or accessory item, he'll basically just always be healing himself at all times. It is a very useful item. If you find this on your casual play is going to be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, your first play of the game, you found that early, and it saved you a lot.
Yeah, this game felt a lot easier than I was expecting it to be, and it was really because I didn't realize how hard that ring carries you.
Yeah. You can regenerate health by standing still for a long time. The ring gives you that same regeneration rate per step, which is faster on its own, right? Like, it's faster than standing still. And, of course, also, you're moving. So, it's just great. It's a great
So
safety
we are
item.
on the easiest difficulty. One of the things that does change is that when you get the health increase from objectives, you actually get a health refill as well. So as long as you keep doing the objectives relatively quickly, taking damage isn't really that big of a deal anyway. Mecha's going to be hitting left, right, and center.
This is Volcano in the middle of not a scrubland. Wow, you rarely see that. Okay, so this is Volcano. All right, I guess it's vampire time.
You can't do this yet because he doesn't have the flame, right? You don't have the flame.
Yeah, don't have the flame amulet. Yeah, that is the once you go into the volcano, you are kind of linear, right? Like you do the next thing. But we haven't found the thing that lets us go into the volcano yet. So
it's pretty much the only reason why the whole game can't be done out of order, because while all the other problems can be kind of mitigated, you can find your way through the ruins without the the spectacles of truth. You can get through the trial dungeon without a lamp, whatever the case may be. The volcano, if you walk in there without the flame amulet, you just fall over and die from heat.
You only take like a tick from hot air like every second or something, but if you touch any orange ground, if you touch any orange ground, you die instantly. Like that's the problem.
Gotcha.
It's like you can go in, but the right past the entrance, there is always a field of orange ground.
Gotcha.
You are forced to get the amulet. You are correct. But yeah, you can actually like, and then entering the boss area again has a field of orange. In case you somehow got past the first one. All right.
Maybe
Vampire's
you found
Castle.
your way by it.
All right. What do we have to do in Vampire's Castle?
So we need to find the 5 magic orbs. There are 5 throughout. Activating them all will release the magical barrier on the vampire's final room. There are some pretty good items throughout here usually. The fact that there's so many rooms and so many items on the ground and so many chests means that this does often end up being a pretty great place for finding resources. Frankly, Mecha's not going to need any of them, but...
Battle axe. Okay, so yeah, that was a battle axe we found. That's good enough to get some killing in.
Unfortunately, you do have weight limits in this game.
Yep.
So the way this game works is, as you quote-unquote level up once again, you get certain stat increases, and one of them is just your carrying capacity and your equipped capacity.
Which is actually
weight-wise.
random, by the way, if you hadn't
Is
noticed. Zophar and I figured that out when we were doing any % runs, that, like, you can get, you know, it's random, right? Like, so you could get a run where you can equip all the things, or a run where you have to take off the fairy armor to fight the dragon, right? Like, and carry your weapon. So yeah, it is actually a little random what your
I did not realize that.
What your equip max is. Yeah, no, it was. I didn't see it until and Zophar did runs when he came into any %, he's like, oh, like I can't equip the things, and I'm like, what?
I can. Yeah.
Like I do every time. Like what happened here? And then we actually started paying attention to the weight limit.
Yeah, so the orbs tend to be fairly well distributed. There's usually, 2 or 3 on the first floor and 2 or 3 on the second floor, and then the vampires on the top. It's not very often, or I don't know if it's possible. I've never encountered a scenario where it's like all 5 of them are on the second floor or something like that. They tend to be fairly well distributed. I think Mecha's probably going to look here for, if I'm going to take a guess at what your plan is. There might be some scrolls that you're interested in seeing if you can source. So maybe looking around just a little bit at resources isn't the worst thing, but I think his focus is going to be mostly on trying to find those orbs as quick as possible.
Yeah, that's basically accurate. I'll take free stuff, but at this point, I'm not getting a better weapon. I'm not getting better armor, and I have the best casual accessory. The only thing I would like to pick up is like a stone of something. Right, like I like to pick up a stone or fairy drop. So like
a fighter stone or something might
yeah,
be good.
a fighter stone or fairy drops would be nice. Oh, there's the orb. It's hiding behind a chair, and we'll pick up that potion because it's right there.
So what potions are you looking for? Are you looking for just basic medicinal potions, or are there others that you think might help you?
So there's a trank potion. That is the only way to
help a lot for
the only way to clearly recover from a mimic is that.
Yeah, the mimics put you into this wild state where it's the basic premise of being kind of startled, but the way this game implements that is it almost acts as if it's like putting in random inputs onto your controller constantly. You're moving forward and backward, turning, just doing whatever. You're out of control for a really long time. And so having those tranquilizers handy will definitely...
All the status effects in this game last far too long.
Far too long. If you get poisoned at any point in the game, it's very possible you'll just die from it, even if you have full health.
Yeah.
Well, of course, that's because it's tied
First
to the
Warhammer, rude.
Oh my god.
Alright, well, good news, I have a solve for that. What does the Scroll of Herb do?
Oh, just gonna...
Boop! That hammer's an herb now! Problem solved! I mean, my battle axe.
Very nice.
I was like, is that the axe? So yeah, actually axe and thing were both heaviest. So I was mistaken on that. That it's battle axe and warhammer are both heaviest. All right, or
A lot of people are familiar with sort of the history of this game. It was built using the same, so it's a Saturn game. It was built with the same engine that was used for T&E Soft's Saturn golf game that they made.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if you make a golf game, it's not really necessary to have it run at a particularly high frame rate. You don't find yourself moving around very often in golf. They don't let you just pick up your ball and walk. So, like, the engine's not really optimized for this sort of thing, but, you know, as much as it kind of feels like we've kind of come here and dropped into your lap the normal bad game fare, I think I speak for Mecha as well as all the other runners for this game, that we like this game. Actually, it does a lot of really interesting, competent things. Its one crime is that it runs at, like, you know, 5 frames a second, which is, you know, some people get motion sickness from it, and obviously that's damning, but it's still a very good game at the end of the day.
Yeah. Like I said, like its crime really is the frame rate, and all of its other incidental problems stem from the frame rate.
Right.
Like, why are the controls clunky? Because of the frame rate. Like, you dash too far, you like have trouble strafing, you have trouble interacting with objects. It's because of the frame rate.
I personally like the visual style of the game. I think it looks really nice. One of those games that crosses. We missed one. I always lose count too. Like, you feel like at a certain point I've got to have hit enough orbs.
I
right?
hit the 2 on the second floor. There's 1 on the first floor that I must have missed. So.
This thing is this game is just very ambitious. In a really, like, complimentary. It's a very ambitious game. It doesn't, like, try to overdo or outdo itself. It's kind of it's the kind of game that even casually you could probably sit down and beat in like 5 or 6 hours and have a really fun time, as long as the frame rate doesn't give you motion sickness.
Yep.
Yeah. Plus, the other thing too is that the Saturn itself was not designed really to handle 3D graphics all that well, for a multitude of reasons. So it's hampered by that more than other systems would be. I imagine if this had managed to have been ported to even the PlayStation, this would have worked out a lot better, and that would have been more eagerly received, I guess.
Sure. But it's very fun to play. You know, if you've only ever heard of this game by reputation and you've never tried it, I mean, you know, your taste might vary. But I tried this out for the first time last year. I had never played it before. I just kind of knew that it was considered to be a bad game, and I fell in love with it. I now kind of every now and then will just sit down and play it as a randomizer on stream, because it's a randomizer.
Yep.
Yeah. I can only imagine that if the Saturn were just a little bit easier to program for, there would be improvement patches at the wazoo for this, because
Here we go.
from what I'm seeing, and I know I gave it a lot of crap on the previous run, but it's really impressive. There is a lot of stuff here that could be done better.
I don't need to block. I need to swing.
So fun
what?
fact, pretty much all of the voice samples in this game.
I don't have.
Did you not equip it?
I'm like, why am I hurting you? Of course you're not hurting you. You haven't equipped the crucifix. What is silly? What is silly?
Yeah, so that's why the crucifix was necessary. Mecha could not have come here before going to the graveyard, unless Mecha knows something I don't know. I don't believe you can damage the vampire without.
It is possible. I believe that the Master Sword can damage it, because it talks about it being light, but I've never managed to test it. But it talks about the Master Sword being a holy weapon, and we know the Sword of Light can hurt vampire too. Right. So.
I've always just like out of instinct equipped the crucifix for that fight. I've never even thought about the Sword of Light probably being good enough.
Yeah, the Sword of Light is definitely good enough. But yep, that's Axe does big damage, and I love big damage. So now we open this chest here and get quality of life item. You kicked me back from opening the chest. Very rude.
Yeah, Mecha does not need this item at all. It's the super magic lamp, but picking it up is the trigger for getting the extra stat upgrades. So,
and it helps in volcano and mines. Like, volcano is much easier to navigate when the lamp is out.
Sure.
Especially if this was something a seed I'd scouted, right? Like, I definitely wouldn't need it. But in a random seed, I'm not sad to have it.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I saw in your inventory, you did already get it because it's the reward for the trial dungeon. I was going to mention the dragon shield.
Yep. Yeah, all dungeons, thankfully, doesn't have to buy anything in its nature. You can, but you don't have to.
Sure.
Alright, so now you are pointing me at the ruins, which is nice. Oh, still missing a line on the ferry. Okay. Alright, but the two unknowns that aren't in obvious position to be the other things. So every dungeon has a kind of a biome for like, in essence, right? Like a kind of place or rules around it. Okay, here's the store. Alright. Good deal. I need to buy... we need to buy the Scroll of Detect.
So Scroll of Detect is going to play a pretty big role later.
And what was the other thing that I need? Oh, might as well pick up a potion while I'm here. Alright, there we go. That's a decent shopping trip. The fairy tiers are escape from a dungeon. I wouldn't mind having more, but there's one dungeon you basically just correctly need it for speed. There's a river here. Where's the crossing? It's up north like it always is.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta go way out of your way.
Yeah. There it is. Hi, Bridge. How you doing? Now, there's another square, and I'm assuming it's the fairy forest up along the north line of the map. Because it can't be the mountains. Yep, there's the fairy forest. Alright, time to play hot and cold.
Oh, God. So later, we're going to need this. It's not necessarily needed right now, but we're here. Why not? We're going to pick up one of the fairies.
No.
Oh, good lord.
Why didn't I equip armor before I did this? Weapons are irrelevant. Armor is not.
Yeah, these bees are a nightmare.
Wow! So much bee. Okay, gonna take my headphones off for a second. That's about enough. Just touch the tree, that's all it takes. Yes! And we're out of here! Okay.
Yeah, the solution for this one's all sound cues.
Alright, we got it.
Yeah, so the solution for that one's sound cues. You can hear the sound of the fairies twinkling as you get closer to the tree. And
they are spatial. Like, they'll come from the right channel or the left channel if they're right or left.
And even when you know that, it's very easy to pick the wrong tree.
Yep.
So we might want the Spectacles of Truth for this, but you don't actually strictly need them. Yep. In fact, the any % run comes here first, because this is where you get the first item that's basically mandatory. This is where you get the Flame Amulet. Mm-hmm. Spectacles of Truth are, like, quote-unquote necessary for finding the entrance, but it's always right next to the sign, so that part's trivial. The actual tricky part here is that there's 3 treasure rooms inside this ruin, and you don't know which wall the door is on. So if you didn't have the spectacles and you were playing this even with the map,
sucks. Wow.
I think I had this exact layout the other day, the one where you basically have to walk everywhere just to get to the last treasure
this is
room.
bad. But yeah, there's only 20 skeletons, as I refer to them, right? Like, for maps for everything. Right,
I'm pretty sure I played this one the other day.
I completely believe you. Yeah, like, there's only 20, like, you're gonna play individual dungeon, but, like, where everything is, where the treasures are, like, where the secret doors are for this one, like, that changes between seeds, too. So even if you've run the exact dungeon, you don't know.
Yes, the classic base-filling path.
I mean, it kind of is. That's kind of... I think that's kind of how it's generated, but what Mecha's saying is that even though it is randomly generated, and it's almost certainly being randomly generated on demand, it's not randomly generated from a pool of, like, all possibilities.
So there's, like, 20
Yeah.
maps, but where things
Right.
are positioned. It's almost like Hero
Per dungeon.
Quest.
Right, yeah.
About that, yeah.
So each dungeon has only a certain number of layouts that are predicated on the siege string, and we do have some understanding of like which characters in the string correspond to which dungeons, but it's not like well understood, and it's not understood for the whole string yet. Like this is an actually really valid space for speedrun research. If someone were to come along and basically decode how the whole string works in order for us to get all of the best dungeon layouts for every dungeon, you would absolutely revolutionize any percent.
Yeah.
Because that would make a huge difference in being able to get the correct layouts, the ones that you actually want. As it stands right now, basically every any percent runner has their favorite seed that they like to run on, they know, but it's not even the same for every runner. You know, like Gyre has some seeds that he uses. Mecha has a run that they like, and Zofar has one that he likes. There's a handful of runners, and they're not even everyone using the same seeds because it's not obvious which one's the right one.
Yeah. Gyre's is Gyre, period. Zofar's is Zofar, and mine is BBG. But yeah, like I said,
And historically, other people have used other seeds, and
Yep.
and they can compete with one another, but it's not obvious like what the best seed actually is. So
Yeah.
you know, if you're savvy and interested in making a big difference in a speed game that actually has some activity and would love to have the help, you know, decoding how that string actually works and figuring out how runners can get the best possible layout for the whole game would make more of a difference than you can realize.
Yeah.
I'm not
ESA
gonna lie,
has some credibility as well. Like ESA was the run that I learned on.
I'm not
Okay,
gonna lie,
thanks.
if the Saturn's instruction set were not as
Ooh,
ridiculously complex,
that's the
I
Master
would
Sword.
be-
Yep.
It's Master Sword.
that's
It
nice.
can be the Master Sword or the Magic Sword, right? Isn't that where you get one or the other? Or am I misremembering how that works?
I'm not sure certain enough on that. It's almost always the Master Sword for me in seeds I've documented, because
Okay,
I wouldn't care about it if it was the Magic Sword.
sure. I think if I remember correctly, and this is just me having played this as a randomizer, I'm pretty sure that chest.
This is a
Oh, you saw
tool.
the.
What kind of tool?
Oh,
It's the Stone of Fighter.
oh, that's
That's a
big.
time save. Yep.
So the
We'll
Sword of
need. We'll want
Fighter-
one of those later.
Yeah. So the Stone of Fighter, sorry, is it is an accessory that you can wear that gives you, if I'm not mistaken, it gives you some small benefits. But another benefit it has as well is that you can like use it, and it will allow you to upgrade a piece of equipment as well. So you can make a piece of equipment better.
Yeah. It seems to give every weapon's alternate attack some of extra effect.
So like the light sword has a projectile it can shoot. If I'm not mistaken, the Stone of Fighter gives it like triple shot.
Yep. And that's the big reason we want it. Like we need a Stone of Fighter for that specifically, because tripling your damage is a rumored good thing. All right.
If you were to find multiple as well, that's not bad either, because you can, like I mentioned, break it and use it to give like a +1 to a weapon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And
that's
also
5.
pretty good.
That's +5 to all of the weapons' damage type or damage numbers. So yeah, that is an increase, especially again if you're tripling the damage, you're tripling the +5. All right, and here's the thing the other thing we're in here for. There's no reason not to get this.
Yes, this is worth going out of your way for. The fairy armor is, if I'm not mistaken, the lightest armor in the game, and it's also one of the most powerful.
Yep, it is the lightest and best armor in the game. There's not a comparison, and it's this early in the game. Like, you get it and you're good.
Isn't there a piece of armor you can find later that's better? But I mean, obviously the weight distribution is like a huge piece of why it's so good.
Actually, no. Like, plate isn't
There's
even
no
better.
better armor?
There's no better armor. This is just the best
Wow.
armor in the game.
Jeez, I would not have expected it to give you it this early.
This early, right? Like, that's the weird thing. Is
This is like Dungeon 5 for reference out of like 10. So
yeah, yeah. It is the 5th thing I'm going to be doing in this random seed. Roper's not going to kill me fast enough. I mean, I want a death warp out of here because that map is terrible.
Yes.
Roper,
And
Roper,
you're playing on the
kill
you're playing on the English version right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's really no cost to death abusing in this. The Japanese version, you lose what, half of your score?
All of your score.
All of your. Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your score is your
Poison.
It's
There we
both your
go.
resources.
We'll
It's
be
both
dead
your
soon.
resource for certain attacks, and it's also the money that you spend. Like your score is everything in this game. And in the Japanese version, it might be worth discouraging death abuse because you lose all of your score on death. The English version, no.
Yep. That and the fact that I can read random things I pick up without referring to my Japanese to English translator document is why English is good. Also, death warping is faster in English. The game over screen applies immediately, but the flip side is that it's basically impossible to do a death free raise. Whereas in Japanese, you have a good 3 seconds to get that menu. Right. Because, yeah, in Japanese, when you die, you have about 3 seconds to enter your menu, use a potion, and then you're fine. Like, you never died. Look at all this health.
As you've noticed, every time Mecha has completed one of the objectives, his max and current health goes up. But behind the scenes, also, his base damage, the amount of equipment he can... Which, it feels kind of silly that your base carrying capacity goes up, because the game gives you, like, much lighter armor pretty early on, and then weight just suddenly stops mattering so much.
That is what we need. Oh, I can't have the axe on with the dragon shield. What a beating.
Oh, the combination's too heavy?
Combination is all too heavy. I have to take something off for it, and I will take something off for it when I get there.
How heavy is the fairy armor? I thought...
No, fairy armor is like 1. The problem is the axe is 6.
Oh, okay.
The axe is way heavier than... Alright, so...
Are there any early objectives we haven't done yet? I think
No,
we've
this is
finished
all 5.
off the early game.
Yep, this is all 5. It's volcano time.
Okay. So you'll be able to use some more of those other things later, but we're not there yet.
Yep. Yep.
So does the world map wrap around or no?
It does.
Oh.
And that's really important to know too, because like the adventure line that's on your compass is not going to tell you like how to navigate around rivers and stuff like that. So you really need to be able to take advantage of the way that the map loops back on itself in order to find the most efficient path.
Yeah, the compass does know that the world is a donut, so it will point you...
It'll give you the straightest line.
Yep, it'll give you the straightest line.
But the straightest line is not always possible.
Yeah. Yep. This Hydlide is a donut world. So is original Hydlide. So are most RPGs. Anyway, we are on the way to the volcano that we passed early. Wait, what was that? There was something on the ground back there. Was it just money? Okay, it was just money. All right.
Yeah, money in this just adds to your score because your score is your money as well. So that's not.
If it was a scroll, I'd snap pick it up to find out what it was because I still want to see a scroll.
Really great scrolls on the overworld. Isn't the scroll of Sage always on the overworld?
I believe that's true. I've only ever found it on the overworld.
So the volcano is probably like the first dungeon where this game kind of gets wild, especially because on all the difficulties except for easy, you don't just get to open the map and just look at the whole layout. You have to map it out yourself.
Oh, baby! Look at this map! This is bad!
Yeah, and as you can see, the volcano is, like, professionals would refer to this as a hot mess. So it's kind of... This is the first dungeon where things start to get really challenging because it's not just like a straight shot to find the things that you want to find. It's not obvious where anything's going to be. And even if you do have the map, like Mecha is on easy mode right now, which means that the game gives you the map in advance. Just looking at the map, it's a two-dimensional projection. So you can't even tell like which paths are connected to which. Some of them are in a 3D space on top of one another. So it's pretty tricky.
Is this even connected? Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I think so.
And all the while
No,
that you're trying to find your way
that's
through
the
this
dead end.
place.
All right.
Yeah,
No luck.
all the while you're trying to find your way through this place, you're surrounded by these armor knights. They're not hard to kill, especially at this point in the game. You definitely have the weapons to be able to handle them, but just you're constantly inundated by them.
Right. And this is, by the way, a remake of original Hydlide. Right. Like this, and there was no volcano area. There was, however, an area you went to which had both these gold knights, and these pink ones. The pink ones were referred to as lady arms in the original, as opposed to the yellow ones, which had some other, like, just gold arms. Right. So it was gold arms and lady arms, not like gold arms and pink arms. In this game, it's pink. It's like, you know, it's whatever color they think this is armor, right? Like, but I always think of them as lady arms because of the original.
Yeah, this is among the worst maps for the volcano I've ever seen.
Yeah, and Volcano also has a frame rate dip, right? It's like, this is the worst frame rate you're going to see in the game, and that makes it very difficult. You're running along, right? Like, you're just running along and just like playing PowerPoint and just like, okay. Like, here's hoping I don't miss anything while I'm running along. My head can clip through, but there are only very limited places you can clip in volcanoes. There are places, though. My BBGC definitely clips through a wall.
I've never tried doing that before. I didn't even think about
it's
the fact
only
that
when there's an overlap, right? Like, it's when
Right.
like you can get two things mashed up against each other, like you say, like it's from the overhead position. Sometimes two pieces of ground are close enough. Two walls are close enough that if you approach it at the right angle, you get to you can get through it.
Oh, interesting. I was just thinking you were talking about like clipping your head through so you could see.
Mhm.
You're actually talking about you can like move from one path to another.
Yes, it's
That's
rare, right? Like, it's rare, but it's definitely a thing. And like I said, the BBG Seeds layout has it, for sure. The corridor, the main corridor you walk through, intersects with the corridor towards the boss. So it helps you not have to go around to get to the boss. And the BBG Seed has like the best volcano of volcanoes I've seen, for sure.
Yeah, if this is your first, if this is the place in this game that you think of when you think of Virtual Hydlide, then you'd be forgiven for thinking that the frame rate's really bad, because here it is really bad.
Yeah.
This is definitely PowerPoint levels.
Yep.
Generally, it's better.
Yes. Like most the outdoor and stuff, but yeah, like this is just the hardest. This is the hardest we'll be pushing the Saturn today.
The rest of the game is like half Ocarina of Time frame rates.
And I'm advantaged in that I've never cared about frame rates for whatever reason. Where like people say, like, oh, like it's 60 frames or 30 frames, or it's 60 or 120. It's like, you can see that? Because I can't. Like, I can't tell the difference in the slightest. So honestly, a low frame rate barely bothers me. In this game, I can notice it, right? But like in general, like frame rates just aren't something I care about because I can't tell. A game basically has to lag for me to be able to see the frame rate, right? And this game is just constantly lagging.
So we're heading in now to the Mad Dragon fight.
Yep, and we're gonna take off the fairy armor because it's the only way I can have my axe. It's fine. It's fine.
So in addition to the volcano being kind of a check for whether or not you've gotten the flame amulet, this fight is also somewhat of a check to see if you've gotten the dragon shield. It's the only shield, to my knowledge, that can block the dragon shots, unless there's some other even better shield. But at least up to this point, it's at least the only one you'd have.
As far as I know. I don't know that the fairy shield blocks it, but you also can't get the fairy shield black with this boss.
I have successfully beaten this boss without the dragon shield for fun. I mean, in a casual playthrough, this you would never need to, because the dragon shield is in a fixed place that's right near where somewhere you
it's
already need to go.
absolutely possible. Some of the OG speedrunners, like in the 2017 era, absolutely did. Like, that was part of their route, was just roll the dice on the dragon, dodge him in the background. Right?
That sounds awful.
It's not great, but it's definitely doable.
I don't know why you would do that in this game, though. I mean, the shield's right there.
Yeah, in all dungeons, you absolutely don't. right? Like there's no reason to.
Oh, right. You're talking about in any percent where you're skipping trial dungeon typically.
Yeah.
So
Why aren't you stunning? What in the world is happening here?
So in any percent, do you still get the dragon shield?
In any percent, you generally buy it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
What difficulty am I on? Why isn't this axe stunning me? Damage is fine. I expected some stuns. There we go. The beast wipe has it.
Oh, there you go.
Alright. Mad Dragon down with the axe.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I looked down to look at the donations tracker, and I looked up, and all of a sudden we're in a Harryhausen movie.
Yeah.
This fight usually is a little bit tedious because the dragon will move forward and backward and you can't always get a clean hit on it, but weapons like the longsword and the battle axe have a little more range on them, so you can make shorter work of the fight that way. The dragon can still move out of range, but once it moves into range, you can usually finish it off.
Alright, anyone wants to see Jim on fire? Oh.
Toasty!
Toasty! Yeah, even becomes a black outline, like it's perfect. Alright, but yeah, with a volcano that bad, I absolutely want a death warp out. So we are taking the death warp. It costs you roughly 23 seconds for all of the loading. But fine. Maybe even 33 seconds. There's 3 loads here. But anyway. And then we back out of the volcano. It's the only dungeon you can do this with where it doesn't cost you time to back out. If you back out of the ruins, it turns you 135 degrees and then you can walk out. But you're doing so at without run speed, so it's just like chunk, walk. So, not recommended.
That's really
35 degrees when you can have 700 degrees.
Yeah. So, all right.
So now we have the flute.
Yep. Now I can equip the safety.
Someone was
brand.
asking earlier in chat whether or not we'd be riding any minecarts today, and I'm proud to say that we will be riding some minecarts today.
It's true. We are riding 1 minecart today because that's what's required. Gyre, when doing marathon runs, would often incentive riding the second minecart and getting the fairy shield.
I mean,
second shopping trip. I've heard of shopping trip, but have you heard of second shopping trip?
If shopping trip was so good, why is there no shopping trip too?
Yeah, that's a good question. All right, I've hit inventory number max because there's an inventory number max too.
Wow. Some adventurers quest their whole lives for the Master Sword, and you just toss it on the ground like it's nothing.
It is nothing.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave it right there. All right, now we have lots of safety, health, and a trank, so we should be good.
That's a ton of stamina drinks.
Yeah, that is a ton of stamina drinks. I don't think there's a reasonable way I could chew through that many stamina drinks, unless I get poisoned and can't cure it. Oh, hey, look, there's the lake. Nice.
Hey.
Okay.
We'll be
here later. That's a secret tombstone that will help us later.
It's a secret tool that will help us later.
Yeah.
Later, yeah. We actually have in chat sort of a challenge here for us. Jason LaRose is saying that they'll toss in $50 if you ride the second minecart.
$50 is
I don't know what that
incentive.
means.
If somebody else wants to put I think $100 is worth it. I would. Okay. Right. I think that if we put down somebody puts down another $50, I'm willing to go get the fairy shield and we can ride the second minecart. It's the better minecart for sure. It has one of the sweetest things you will see in a game from 1993, 4.
I don't know. 1993? That's the year Bubsy came out.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot to compete with, but I think Hydlide provides. I mean, the CD-ROM gives it so many more images it can use.
Yeah, it's just like Bubsy.
So wait, was Bubsy a disc game? The first one?
There was a Windows version of it.
Ooh,
Probably
okay.
distributed on CD.
Okay, yeah, for sure. On like one of the big shareware CDs.
Maybe.
Virtual Hydlide was released on April 28th, 1995 in Japan,
Okay.
and
Alright.
September of 95 in North America.
Yeah, that sounds right. That's the wrong item, Mike. There we go.
It does have kind
What?
of the right shape.
Yeah, it does have kind
Yeah.
of the right shape.
You can't
I was
see
out of
this across the
position.
door.
Very rude. Let's try the flute again. There we go.
The
Just a
flute's
little
pretty
further
picky.
left.
You have to be like not. You have to be in front of the door, but not right in front of the door.
If you thought the volcano was long, though, this dungeon.
Yeah, but this is
Oh,
so much
man.
more straightforward because it's all straight lines on a grid.
It is, but it is long. And we're going to make
Yeah.
it longer if somebody else is willing to put the money towards it. Another $50 with that first offering person. Let's look at this map. Not the worst. All right.
So there's a few points of interest here in this dungeon on all of the floors that we'll encounter. One of them is that there's these pools of water that are around. They will heal you and they will clear poison status.
So there's a lake on the world map that does the same, and it cures curse as well. I haven't tested
Wow.
curse in here, but it's reasonable to believe that they all do the same thing. Just haven't tested it yet.
I would expect that you're right. I've never come here with curse, but
Mhm.
but there are a lot of things in here, or at least one very notable thing in here that will cause you the poison status. So knowing your exits can really make a difference.
Yep. No, for sure. You definitely want to be on the lookout for those water pools.
So it looks like we got that $100. It looks like you're going to
Yes,
be.
we did. Jason LaRose did put in saying you drive a hard bargain, Mecha Link.
What can I say? Old Magic player. You don't give away value for nothing. All right, we are gonna go get the fairy shield then, which is a better shield than the flame shield in general, but the flame shield's elemental resistances make it the better shield anyway. Like on numbers, it's way better, but alas.
As far as practicality goes, the flame shield or the dragon shield will still probably be the one
Yeah,
you'll
the
focus on.
it's still the better one. It blocks more things it blocks the thing from the last boss that can actually kill you. Like, that's kind of the issue. All right, so here's first
And of
minecart.
course, we do want to say thank you to Jason LaRose for helping support.
Thank
Take
you.
This.
Oh, you're just almost there. There, in the cart.
This minecart is so much fun to try to
Get in.
into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the minecart with the glasses on, because I never took them off after accidentally putting them on. So this is the minecart in red. Look at the great noises. Like those are good minecart noises, right?
Solid minecart
Like
noises.
these are real minecart noises. Like.
I really feel like 2 years previous to this, they saw Donkey Kong Country and they were like, "Oh, we can do that in our game."
They can. I like that. That's a good. It's a good game. Put a good game in your good game, and you're gonna get a good game, right? That's actually.
Hey, it worked for Mario repeatedly.
Yeah.
Over and over and over.
Anyway, third part of the dungeon. Okay, we're gonna do. I think we could do some diagonal running in this one.
I think this is the first dungeon in the game where you start to encounter mimics.
Yes. First floor has mimics. Yep.
So there's multiple floors we have to go through here if you're playing this casually, especially on a difficulty other than easy. Which I mean, I would recommend if you're gonna try this yourself, picking a difficulty other than easy is really fun because you can't just like have the map available to you. You have to kind of map it out yourself.
And the identify system starts to matter, and they did a good job designing the identify system in this game. Right, like items become unknown until you identify them, and everything has a bad version. Right?
Yeah.
Everything. There's a bad potion, there's a bad scroll, or multiple. Including there's like scroll of identify and scroll of herb, right? Both of them are like, pick an item. And you're like, okay, great, I got an identify skull. Nope, you turned your new item into an herb. Bye. Like, they've really well designed, identify system to make it so you can't believe, you know, without scouting, you can't actually believe anything. All right, this is the floor that we'll have to come back to because we're taking the minecart out the north way.
This is also the floor, if I'm not mistaken, where you first encounter the poison gas.
Yep.
Which is really where those water pools start to shine as a resource. Obviously, as you're going through here, just kind of dungeon crawling, you can take a lot of damage, and the pools are nice to kind of restore some of that. But when you are dying from poison vapors, being able to find one of those pools is a lifesaver.
We got to stand
Literally.
on top of the cart briefly. That was funny. We're just
gonna keep passing on through.
keep passing on through.
Excuse me, pardon me, coming through.
All right, here we go. Second minecart ride.
The good one.
This is the best one. This is what you paid for. We'll do it again on the way back. But here's the best minecart ride you'll have ever seen.
Whoop.
That's right, we got to jump. Virtual Hydlide has a cart jump, and it's great.
It's a shame you can't flip a minecart.
Yeah.
It's not an anachronism for me to be doing the House of Pain jump right now, right?
No, that's
Anachronism?
perfectly fine.
Nah, that's fine.
Great.
Yes!
I'm gonna do it anyway.
So are you actually gonna look for the
Fair shield?
here?
Yeah. Like, why would you
Okay.
come here if you're not gonna? Right.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
All right, so we're gonna die from poison very slowly, and that's fine. I would like to open this chest. That's just money. That's not what we're looking for. If I'd known before I came in, I probably would have bought another Scroll of Detection, but
Right.
don't really care. All right. I'm not gonna bother healing with poison. Like, I'm just gonna potion. I have so many of them, it doesn't matter. All right, but yeah, I'm gonna have to give this. There's a lot of butts on the map to search.
Yeah, most of the chests, I mean, occasionally you'll get chests in the hallways, but most of the chests are going to appear in those little dead ends, all those little crevices.
Yep.
Those are where Mecha's going to be hunting for chests, and they're not all going to even have chests. Some of them are just going to be empty.
Just a bunch of sacks of whatever you put sacks in mines. What do you put things in mines in sacks in? Ooh, there's one.
I'm always
Money.
I'm always
a lot of
side-eyeing any chest that's a little too like out in the open.
Yeah.
Anytime they just put a chest in the middle of a hallway, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
that's-
sure. Which is silly. That's foolish because this game doesn't actually care. Like, it's not placing chests carefully when they're real ones and placing mimic chests in a different way. But like, I can't help but just think, that's a weird place for a chest.
There are more mimics than real chests usually, so it kind of is like, if you see one in a weird place, it's kind of like...
There's a later dungeon that we'll be entering into pretty soon that has a lot of mimic chests, just tons of them. And the real giveaway for those that I always find very funny is when you go down a hallway and you find a dead end, you turn around and you say, I don't remember there being a chest there last time.
Yep, that's a good one. Yeah, the chest will spawn anywhere. Aha! I'm trying to hide back here. Potion is not what we want. Alright, continue looking.
Yeah, I had the good fortune to play this game after I played Dark Souls, so I got all of my being terrified of mimics out of the way.
Ah, that's good. I've only played Bloodborne of the Dark Souls likes. Fine. I enjoyed it, but yeah, I haven't played a ton of the Dark Souls games. The early ones were too clunky for me to care about. Like, more clunky than this. To be honest.
Yeah, you say as you're playing Virtual Hydlide, I love.
It's clunkier than Virtual Hydlide. Like, they are legitimately just some of the clunkiest controls I've ever seen.
All right.
The early ones. Like like the game concept is
citation needed, but
oh come on! Like, there's a bunch of like stuff in that
I agree
game.
with you. They are very specific games.
Yeah. All right. Here's a chest in a not terminal room, just a dead end. And it's just more money, alright? We're
Love
running
that
out of
money.
places. We're running out of places to look for the shield. We are actually running out of places.
You're gonna tell me this room doesn't have any chests in it. Alright.
Alright. I mean, there's still 2 places
One
we haven't
more.
checked yet.
Yeah.
One more of those, and then at the dead end where the water is. At which point I will, in fact, take the heal. But we're gonna do this again.
I don't think I've ever seen a chest appear in the room where the water is, but I don't
I
know
can't
why
rule it
I've
out.
always considered it not be possible.
Yeah, I can't rule it out. There, we're going to the other dead end then.
Dang. The fairy shield chest machine broke.
Yeah, the fairy shield chest is definitely not skipping hide and seek day. Alright. There's a dagger on the ground there.
I remember having this issue one time when I was playing casually and someone pointed out that the fairy shield was down here, and I came to this floor and was like, alright, I'll find the fairy shield, and I couldn't find it. And I personally concluded maybe sometimes it doesn't exist.
I mean, we
But I
gave
don't
it
know
a
that
really
that's actually
good
true.
try. The only paths we didn't cross are the 3 crossbars. We checked everything else.
Yeah, you've done 2 of them, but not all 4 of them.
Daggers are terrible. Why are you here? There is a stunning number of daggers in the mines, and it's very, very frustrating because there's no upgrade dagger. There's not like a good dagger as opposed to the basic one. They're all just the basic one. Maybe with a plus on it, but that doesn't make it usable.
I also didn't really notice very many chests just out in the
hall? No.
hallways.
Oh, I saw gas out of the corner of my eye. Glad I turned there.
Yeah, the gas actually moves.
Yep.
Which is a little bit of a tricky issue sometimes as you're exploring, because you might think to yourself, well, certainly the game at least is smart enough to like not put a gas wall in front of like a critical path, right? Like it wouldn't put a gas wall somewhere and then like there's no way for you to get around it or avoid it or heal from it. I've definitely had the gas wall appear right before the boss room.
Yep.
And you just like you do not have an opportunity to fix that problem. You just go into the boss poisoned.
Yep. I turned to right. Okay. Yeah, I guess we're going without. I'm sad, but I literally looked everywhere. I must have missed it. There was a scroll on the ground there. Alright, it could be a scroll of detect. That would be useful. That would let us know what we missed. I will pick it up. Just on the chance it's a scroll of detect. It's scroll of curse, which is the opposite of something I want. It just it curses an item. It's like, yep.
In case you're wanting to curse an item.
Yeah, in case you want to curse an item, you never know.
But I mean, that's what Mecha was talking about before, about this game has kind of an interesting identify system where, you know, on other difficulties, some of those items are going to be not known. You're not going to necessarily know what those items are, and so if you just use it...
Here comes!
Just...
Alright. But yeah, that's a lot of the identify. Like I said, the identify system has a lot of like good design to it, right? Like, you know, there's a curse ring too, like a ring that it's ring of weakness that makes you carry less, right? So like there really is just like there's a bad version of everything, and if you play on harder difficulties, you will stumble into all that sort of stuff.
This game has a lot of really great design decisions, and, you know, maybe in a more optimized engine, this game would have gotten the love it deserved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Completely agree.
Got really jammed into the
Yeah, jammed into the corner there. All right, we're coming up on on Evil Mage 1. this first begins. Okay.
So we're coming up against what I'd probably consider to be the first real, like, tough boss fight in this game. I mean, it's not that the other boss fights aren't challenging, and I'm sure Mad Dragon has given its fair share of gamers the business. But the evil wizard fight here, it can really, I mean, even if you know what you're doing, it can really trip you up, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough to beat it fast, even if you know what you're doing. And it absolutely can trip you up. He can do an immense amount of damage.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you didn't pick up the fairy armor. Like, his damage output is extremely high.
Or imagine, like, if you're a big doofus and you didn't realize that the dragon shield actually blocks his attacks.
Yeah. That's something that if you're playing casually, you could be. There's plenty of opportunities to be a big doofus.
Yeah, imagine not knowing that.
Mm-hmm.
Could not be me.
Could not be. No. Sadly, I couldn't fall for that because you did first.
Yeah, my casual playthrough, this boss fight gave me a lot more trouble because I did not realize I could block his attacks.
Right,
and his attacks
Come
will
on
do
down. You're next to testing on. I have max.
all of your damage, or all of your health and damage.
Why are you in the wall? Why do you hate me? Yeah, okay, you're gonna bounce this time. That's fine, as long as you set down next time.
There is some amount of manipulation you can do for this fight, but...
Hey, you bounced on your own that time. That was not my fault.
But this fight is very much just kind of waiting for him to behave himself.
Ugh. That was... Ah! I hate it when he does that. Tough to keep track of you when he just moves past you instantaneously.
I think if you're too close to him when he lands, he just instantly goes back up.
Yep. If you're in his hitbox when he lands, he will go back up.
But you can't deal damage to him until he touches the ground, and when he touches the ground, he'll do a little voice clip, and then very shortly after, he will fire like 6 fireballs at you. And those 6 fireballs, even at like 700 health, are going to do almost your entire health bar in damage.
Yep.
You can probably tank one of them without too much trouble, but you won't survive the second one.
Yeah. Thankfully, at this high a piece of armor, they don't flinch me, so I don't have to block them as long as I'm close enough to hit with the axe.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, flinching mechanics become very important as you reach higher difficulties because the damage enemies do and their resistance to flinching from damage are go up, and that changes how bosses behave. Evil Mage in particular, right, like, he no longer flinches when you hit him at higher difficulties, and that means that you're gonna get fireballed no matter what. Like, you can't stop him from throwing fireballs at you. All you can do is kind of, like, trade barrages with him. Right.
Yeah, you've mentioned that to me before. I cannot imagine, like, I have not played at the highest difficulties. I can't imagine really taking this fight on where you can't flinch him with an attack, because that is like a core mechanic of this fight, is knowing that if you get the hit in, that you're not going to take the damage, otherwise you are.
Yeah. Nope, it's a lot. Yeah, on hard and pro difficulty. The secret difficulty.
Yeah, I was going to mention, this game does have a 4th secret difficulty, which I don't know all of the changes for it. I think it's mostly just stat increases for the enemies, right?
That and the map is completely disabled.
I thought it was completely disabled in hard as well.
No. It's completely, like, all the compass and map are both fully black. Right? Like, you have no guidance.
Because I know on medium difficulty, you get a map, but you have to map it out yourself.
Yeah,
and
but
on
you still have the compass, right? Like, that's the change, is that hard takes away your compass.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Alright, we did it. We beat the guy. We got the fairy. We're gonna use the fairy tears and get out of this dungeon. This door.
Get on the floor.
Alright. Good deal.
So we have 2 fairies. The next fairy is coming from, or the last fairy, I should say, is coming from the next dungeon. We actually passed it earlier and made reference to it. It's kind of a tricky one, but fortunately, on this difficulty and with Mecha having gotten the scroll of Detect, it should end up proving to be a lot more straightforward, and it's going to net us our best weapon in the game. So.
Yep. best weapon in the game, and will beat a fan favorite from the original Hydlide. It used to not be a boss. They turned it into a boss here, and I really appreciate that. But yeah, there's that. Lots of mimics, so that's what the Trank Potion is for, is this dungeon in particular. But yeah, this is the last real dungeon where you have to make any decisions. The final boss's castle involves no decisions.
And since you've already gotten the third fairy, or what I would consider to be the third fairy, you know,
right.
we're pretty close to end game. Once we beat this dungeon, we are heading into the end game rush.
On normal and higher difficulty, you don't have that hot and cold capability until you beat the castle. Like that's why it's the third fairy. Like normally you can't do the hot and cold game until you beat the castle and get the amulet, the fairy amulet.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah, I know that the reason why it's the third for me is because, I mean, I played as a randomizer, and the adventure line doesn't point me toward that forest until
you've done it. Yep. No, it is intended to be done last, but because on easy they give you the tools to do it first if you find it.
Cool.
But yeah, on higher difficulties, you are not given the opportunity. You get that from beating a lost castle, and then that's why it directs you there, right? So it's an interesting thing where you start with a key item in easy for some reason. You don't know why, but you do. It doesn't do anything else. Like you can't equip it, you can't do anything with it. It's just
right.
All right. So this is the first half of the dungeon. It's a crystal maze. That looks pretty likely to be the place I need to go. It's a teleporter maze, but it's not a hard teleporter maze.
Yeah. Despite the fact that it looks really gnarly, generally speaking, you can kind of luck your way into, like, completing this maze in 2 steps, because it has this 3D element to it that
there it is, yeah.
Often ends up trivializing it.
As long as there's a path from this to the next, then we're good. Yep. Bye. See? Easy maze.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is. I can't describe it, but because, like, you can always work your way toward the middle, and you know that that's going to take you toward the teleporter out, it's actually pretty trivial to just kind of happenstance your way into the solution.
Scroll of Detect time.
So the Scroll of Detect is actually invaluable here, because it tells you where the locations of all the chests are, and the thing about this dungeon...
north, 2 things to the east that are easy to pick. Alright, starting east.
So the thing that's really unique about this dungeon that you'll notice is that there are a ton of chests around, but like 80% of them are mimics.
Yeah.
And mimics are particularly gnarly in this game because they, first off, already do an obscene amount of damage, like a literally offensive amount of damage. But on top of that, they also have the ability to give you that panic status effect that you need the tranquilizer potions for. So.
Oh, it's the version of this. This block. There are multiple block puzzles. It's this version of it. Okay. All right, I figured it out. I got it. It's fine.
Oh, it's forcing you to go to an opposite corner and then going across.
Opposite side, go across. I should have recognized that when I saw how the north wall worked, but I didn't. All right. Conveniently, this one has 2 chests right over here. That's not one of them.
2 real chests.
2 real chests right over here. Yeah, fake.
We are looking for exactly 1 item. I'm not saying that Mecha wouldn't be happy to see a few others, but once we get
a sword.
Probably that
item. Normal sword of light. All right, we are donezo because we picked up the stone earlier. Otherwise, I'd be searching for the stone here, which is
there is also a stone of fighter you can usually find here, but Mecha already has one, meaning that it's not necessarily all that beneficial to find a second one.
All
Certainly
right,
not.
Where's the exit? South. All right. South.
The Sword of Light is absurd. It does by far the most damage, and also has a really good projectile. Like, it's just a really solid projectile for both attacking and stunning.
Look at that, baby. It's good.
Oh no, it's this block puzzle still.
Dang it!
I was with you. I was watching you go across. I was like, this is the correct direction. And then I was, wait, no, this is the block.
No, this is the wrong one! Dang it! Yep. I did this to myself. And I keep overshooting because I'm holding down the X button and I really shouldn't be. You are the one I want to be on.
Yep.
You. There we go. Alright.
So at this point, we have more or less everything we need. We are in the... If we were looking at this in randomizer terms, we are in go mode.
Yep.
It's killing the boss of this dungeon, which there's only one more floor, and Mecha can make a beeline for the end now.
Yeah, because I can see the map. Right.
Right. Yeah. And then on top of that, all that's left after this is just a very short boss rush in the final boss.
Yep. And yeah, usually this floor is pretty simple. Okay,
Just going north.
Yeah, this getting out of this little maze piece is kind of bad, but yeah, you just go north and there's the exit out.
We did get a $100 donation from Jason LaRose again.
Ah!
Penance for causing Mecha Link to go over estimate for minecart rides.
Yeah. I realized as I was doing this, like, if I don't find this soon, right, like, I've just made a bad decision. Alright,
Feel free to keep sinning, Jason. We greatly appreciate that.
if it sins for money, we can do that.
Well, sins for money for charity.
Right, for charity, obviously. We're not doing sins for self-bribery. That would be happening on a different channel. That is not what we're doing here at Speedrun Ragnarok. Thank you.
You can kind of get a sense of it looking around at how many chests that we keep seeing, but none of them are real chests. If you got even a little bit close to them, they would wake up and kill you. The other nice thing about the Sword of Light that I forgot to mention is that it permanently kills these skeletons. The skeletons will come back to life. They just fall over and then come back. The Sword of Light is, I imagine, one of the few ways to permanently kill them. The fighter sword here makes this so much more straightforward, and the fact that I guess the armor is preventing Mecha Link from having to worry too much about flinching, which means that I'm just kind of tank the damage.
I'm actually blocking with the shield here
Okay.
to put a full 200 defense in front of not flinching. And that's what's preventing me from flinching. Like, a crit can still make me flinch, as you saw there, where a regular hit flinched me, but with the shield up, I'm pretty protected from that. Alright. Thankfully, they accounted for the possibility that you had 3 fairies here, because, as I said, normally you only have 2 fairies here by game logic, but if you have the 3rd fairy here, you just get to skip, this animation happening elsewhere. It just happens as the castle collapse goes.
That's really nice.
Yep.
That's a compelling reason to get that other fairy first.
It is. It's why we do it in all the speedruns. It's because, we're not... I would much prefer not loading back to the main map, finding the 3rd fairy, and then having that sequence happen. Alright, Fortress of Verilus, boss rush.
So here we're going to do a very short boss rush of some of the bosses we've seen so far. We're going to re-encounter 2 of them, and then take on the final boss.
And each of the re-encounters have little wrinkles added to them.
Yeah. This one's actually a nightmare if you're unprepared for it because of all the bats that are added. Bats don't do a whole lot of damage, but 10 bats do a whole lot of damage.
Additionally, bats have the paralyzed status effect on them, and if the game decides that if the bats, percentage trigger that, then you are going to be in a bad way. Alright. Vampire dead this time. Right, find the piece of the wall that's not breathing. It's this one, because that's the one that's going to disappear.
Yep.
Looking for the non-breathing wall. It's important advice. Alright. I don't need to get it. There are 2 hidden safeties in this wall that you can only access with the spectacles. I don't need them, so I'm not going to bother. But you can't, unlike the other secret entrances, you can't access them just by knowing they're there. You actually have to have the glasses on. Alright, nearest mage, but he has ads, and he can bring back the ads if he's not stunned. Remember my discussion about higher difficulties and him not being stunned?
So they're coming back all the time.
All the time, and that's attached to a heal on his part. Right, so he's just constantly healing himself, adding back the paralyzing re-adds, right? Like,
that's awful.
Just all the time. It's absolutely miserable. It is almost unbeatable without the sort of light triple. Like, I've tried it, I've done it before, like, without it. It is almost unbeatable without the triple. With the triple, it's consistently beatable, but without it, you are so destroyed. Because he heals like a quarter of his health every time he does it. And it's like, I can't out-damage you.
So you're just hoping for the luck of him to not...
Yep, you're just leaning on variance to him, just don't heal yourself. Right, like, please stop healing yourself. Right? Sit down for a long time trying to hurt me, but don't heal yourself. There we go. Alright, Evil Mage down. Again. Non-breathing wall. I think this is the right one. Maybe time to check.
So I'll point out before we hear our last voice clip, all the voice clips in this game are just the Japanese voice clips from the golf game that this is built on the engine of, but played in reverse and heavily slowed down. So they're not saying anything, it's just Japanese men talking about golf, but backwards and slow.
Yeah. The vampire is the second player select prompt. We know that one. I don't know what the other ones are. Because the vampires one is not actually that slow and straight, and like it's easy to kind of compare. The other ones are... Right, this is Verilus, the final boss, the one who changed the princess into 3 separate fairies. Ow. What was
you can't
that
get away with this.
That's why we keep the dragon shield on. Because those...
You know, I've always just dodged all of his attacks every time I've ever played this. I never realized how much of this you could dodge. Or, shield.
Oh, you're in the door. You can't fully block the other two, but the fireballs, the Vegeta style, multi-shot bullet absolutely shreds you. But it's fire elemental, so the dragon shield does work. So yeah, he can throw a green ball, he can throw a black ball, he can throw the red balls, or he can laugh at you. His call. Got him. We're done.
Well, who's laughing now?
That is time.
Still him.
Right.
That's it. That is Hydlide. Now you will briefly see the quality FMV.
I love it so much.
Princess Getty photos, as we determined, because this is pre-internet. Right, we didn't have people didn't have Shutterstock. This is Princess Getty photos.
And as always, a stunning view of Jim's back.
Yes, but look at that detail. It's like, that's so much detail. But obviously, you can see that she's been chopped in, because of the way that her hair goes back. Then, yep, a stunning view of Jim's back, and that is the ending of Virtual Hydlide. The castle disappears, the fields return, and that's it. So yeah, thank you for the extra donation. I'm sorry that went over. I spent too long looking for the shield that wasn't there. That's it for me. I don't have another run this marathon unless there's an emergency backup. Thank you, Auth, for hanging out with me here.
Absolutely, it was a ton of fun. Thanks for having me.
All right. And really quick, where can we guys find you on the interwebs?
Everywhere my name is Mechalink. Twitter, Twitch, etc. On Twitch, I will stream games like this, Final Fantasy IV for the Enterprise sometimes. But yeah, I'm kind of a variety streamer, but yeah.
All right. And Arthur Blues?
You can find me on twitch.tv/AuthorBlues, and all of my links can be found there. So,
all right, great. And I am Code Indigo, also twitch.tv/Code Indigo. I want to say thank you to everybody who has donated, and I would like everybody to stick around because our next run is Antechamber, and we will be doing that very shortly.
1 second, we stayed on long enough. I just want to make sure we all see the final. Congratulations! Period. Period.
All right,
And
and
that
thank you
is our
for the
game.
raid, Lady Arcaders. We greatly
Hey, Lady
appreciate that.
Arcaders.
All right.
Good deal.
So that's it for us, and stay tuned. We will be back with Antechamber very, very shortly.
Later.
Bye.